Good morning, everyone. Can I ask everyone to take their seats, please? We'll start in a minute or two. Thank you. Thank you very much, parties, ladies and gentlemen, colleagues, friends. We would like to start this morning's plenary session, so please make your way to your seats as we are starting the session now. So before we continue with the agenda this morning, and we'll be working through from agenda item 7, we have to get a couple of reports from the groups that met last night and this morning. So can I ask either Moran or Sergio, who were looking after the CRP4 on the LRM study, if someone could take the floor and report back. Mexico, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Co-Chair. Yesterday we had at the first meeting of our contact group. It was very useful so that the participants could share general comments about the CRP. The proponents were very helpful in terms of clarifying some of the main objectives behind the CRP. We still have to keep on working on the text. We also had progress in terms of trimming down the text of the CRP. There were some pending adjustments that needed to be looked at by the participants. We would like to request some additional time so that we can keep on working on the perfectioning of the text of the CRP. So that would be the request. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sergio, Mexico, for that report back. And indeed, we are anticipating being able to make some more time available for your group to at least have one more meeting. So that is our plan. I'd like to turn to my co-chair for the next report out.
Thank you, Annie, and good morning to everyone. As we are aware, the contact group on the replenishment TOR met for the second time this morning, so I would like to ask either Ralph or Maruza to report back on progress. Thank you. Maruza from the Maldives, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Co-Chair. Good morning, everyone. We had a very good meeting, starting with the text, but we would still need more time to go through the text and also for some explanations and understanding of the paragraphs. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Marisa, and thank you to all delegates. You were working very, very hard on this CRP, so thank you for your efforts, and we'll be sure to allot more time for this group to meet to reach its objectives. So thank you, Marisa. So I now appoint and point delegates to agenda item 7 on the further strengthening the Montreal Protocol institutions. In Decision 36-9 of MOP 36, requested the Secretariat to prepare 2 documents for consideration by OEWG 47. A summary of common features of licensing systems and a compilation of information provided by parties on illegal trade in controlled substances and synthesis of best practices. These are contained in documents 47/4 and 47/5 respectively. You will recall that in the same decision, the Secretariat was also requested to convene a 1-day informal meeting of the parties back-to-back with MOP 37 to reflect, based on existing documents, on facilitating the implementation of the Montreal Protocol. I would now like to invite the Secretariat to give a 10-minute presentation on the 2 documents that they prepared for OEWG 47. Secretariat, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Madam Co-Chair. Good morning, distinguished delegates. So as was mentioned, under this decision 36/9, the Secretariat prepared first a summary of common features of licensing systems. And I would like to remind that the decision actually asks to update its response to a previous similar request from the parties to identify common features of licensing systems to assist parties wishing to improve their national licensing systems. That compilation was prepared for the workshop on institutional strengthening in 2000, that was organized by the Secretariat in 2023. In that previous compilation, we looked at 46 systems to identify core features, some good practices, and areas for improvement. For this compilation, we followed a similar methodology. We looked at what parties have already have in terms of suggested core features under Article 4B of the protocol, various recommendations of the decisions, studies that were conducted at the request of the parties by the Secretariat during the earlier discussions of the parties in relation to illegal trade. We also had access to regulations concerning licensing systems submitted shared by parties with the Secretariat that usually are also available on our website. And this time around, we received information about licensing systems from 100 parties, including the previous 46 that we updated whenever we could. We tried to keep a balance among the parties, and this information mainly came from the parts of the verification reports, most recent HPMP and KEEP proposals that parties kindly agreed to share with us with assistance of colleagues from the MLF Secretariat. So altogether, we looked at 100 parties. We reminded ourselves of the core features that are suggested to be in the licensing systems based on the provisions of the Montreal Protocol, role that this licensing system should perform for the parties, and also looked at recommendations, already existing recommendations of the parties, for example, decision 19/12 that specifically talks about various features and measures that the licensing systems should have. And with that understanding, we developed a general picture of what a licensing system for import and export of controlled substances could have. So we reviewed the existing information, the information to what we had access. The information, of course, that was provided to us is not always very consistent. So if there are some features mentioned in some information, doesn't mean that, and in some other features are not mentioned, it doesn't mean that they don't exist in those countries. It's just what we had access to. So we looked at the scope of licensing systems, legal institutional frameworks behind those systems, how they're designed and operated, how they enable compliance and enforcement with regulations, how these systems allow to collect, verify, and report data, how it ensures transparency, and also supportive measures for operation of these systems. And we identified, updated the features that were already identified in the previous compilation. And they're quite extensive, so in this note that we prepared for this meeting, and will be also looked at informal meeting that the Secretariat is organizing before next MOP. They're all summarized in conclusion, so about 11 common features that are listed on this slide. We also identified, by common features, we thought that those that were mentioned in more than 60 cases of licensing systems that we reviewed, some notable practices that are perhaps good for replication and that help to enhance the efficiency and effectiveness of the licensing systems. For example, we identified that fully electronic licensing systems that have some kind of interface or even fully integrated with customs portals actually indeed provide increased efficiency and effectiveness of the systems, allow full automation of processes, data verification, and generally increase the efficiency of the systems. Also, for example, we saw that in some cases, to promote good practices and safe practices using the controlled substances and their alternatives, access to quota and licensing is restricted to certified businesses. We also saw that in some cases there are inbuilt incentives in the licensing systems to promote low GWP alternatives. For example, simplified and expedited custom procedures for those importers or exporters. Also, we saw that making public information about regulations publicly accessible, and also data, for example, on quota allocation, distribution of licenses, also making it publicly available increases the transparency, oversight, and overall increases the efficiency of the systems. And we also identified some features that have been mentioned in a more limited number of cases. For example, that export and re-export transit not covered in some cases, also the coverage of used reclaimed substances, products, and also there is still a reliance on manual verification of the information. So the key observation from this exercise is that the Montreal Protocol sets universal obligations, co-obligations for the compliance for the licensing systems, but the implementation depends very much on across countries. Countries tailor these systems to their national circumstances, capacities, and priorities, but it's important that licensing systems help to achieve compliance with the Montreal Protocol objectives while also facilitating efficiency of trade. Concerning the second study that we also prepared under this decision, and we've been doing this compilation for the third year in a row, is compiling information on practices used by national authorities in tackling illegal trade and controlled substances. And for this specific compilation, we were requested to synthesize best practices and especially look at the disposition of detained substances. So in the current database that we compile based on the submission of the parties, we have 786 cases. 73 new cases have been shared with us by 7 parties since the last compilation. Usually we prepare these compilations at least 2 months in advance to the OEWG, so these compilations include cases submitted up to April 2025. This is geographical distribution. As you can see, as in previous cases, we have a lot of submissions from the Eastern European countries, Western European, other states. These are United Nations geographical regions. We about 40 different substances are mentioned in these cases. We try to sum them up and provide a total weight as well as a CO2 equivalent, as was suggested by some parties. And also in this compilation, we included 25 cases reported by parties under decision 31/3, which expanded the submission of these cases to HFCs also, in addition to ODS, and also mentions illegal production and consumption, which we understand consumption mean after the illegal trade already happened. So we specifically looked at enforcement actions and legal outcomes. So what happens after these goods are seized to prevent their entry into the market. There are usually either administrative or criminal proceedings followed, and the legal outcomes include a number of forms from mandates to comply with regulation, warnings, confiscation, fines, re-export, and also criminal charges in many cases. Some notable practices include those that help to improve enforcement of the systems, include a combined approach that with overall aim of making financial burden significant for offenders as a deterrent for illegal trade. We also saw that often parties decide to do quota or allowance reduction or revocation over an extended period of time for a few years, depending on the severity of violation. In terms of disposition of detained substances, so basically what happens to the substances after the legal case reached its conclusion. As in previous compilation, there are a variety of ways of dealing it, mainly destruction under the technical standards and technologies approved by the meeting of the parties, re-export to originating country, and release under certain conditions. So we noted that it would actually, as a good practice, is important to have defined national rules on disposition of these substances, as well as timelines for closing the legal cases. We have a lot of cases where we don't know specific outcomes, and maybe it would be interesting for parties to actually report back on the previously submitted and shared cases, so that we can also get additional insight onto this aspect. And some as the best practices, it's important to have clear legislation and penalties defined, cross-border coordination, information sharing, including the use of IPIC procedure. We've noted that parties have quite flexible approaches in some cases in terms of penalties and enforcement, with a lot of flexibility on what to use depending on the severity of violation. So this kind of progressive sanctions approach, and also, of course, a lot of reliance on data monitoring for identification of illegal trade, cross-checking and collaboration among various entities involved. For measuring violations, some parties use CO2 equivalent values, as well as some parties mentioned the ongoing monitoring and enforcement of the online marketplaces. Thank you.
And thank you, Liazat, for the presentation, and to the Secretariat for its hard work on these two papers. We also thank parties that have submitted the illegal trade cases and shared information on their licensing systems with the Secretariat. In addition to the two papers just presented by the Secretariat, the parties in paragraph 6 of Decision 36-9 had also requested the Secretariat to prepare an analysis of systemic issues in relation to compliance, based on cases considered by the committee over the past 10 years, for consideration by the Implementation Committee at its 74th meeting and that the informal meeting to be organized prior to MOP 37. The Implementation Committee has made this analysis available to parties as a background document. The advanced version of the annex is already posted on the meeting portal. With that, I now open the floor for discussions. I would like to suggest that in your interventions, you include what issues you would like the informal meeting prior to MOP 37 to address. The floor is now open for interventions. I have one speaker on my list. EU, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Co-Chair. We would like to thank the Secretariat for the extensive work undertaken as requested last year in the decision that we tabled originally. That's why I think I should come in first. So we have the two papers on the common features and licensing system, but also the compilation of reported cases of illegal trade. We note that cutoff date for inclusion in this exercise was the 14th of April. Since the decision didn't give a precise date, we assume that you would also include submissions which arrived after this cutoff date in an updated version at a later stage. So that there we trust that this information is not lost, since it is a continuous exercise. We would also thank the Secretariat and the Implementation Committee for making the analysis of systematic issues in relation to compliance available to the parties. That document is certainly a source of inspiration for issues that should be discussed at the informal discussion ahead of our meeting in Nairobi. In general, a general observation to the functioning of the institution in relation to compliance. Generally, the protocol institutions work well. They showed they led to an efficient reaction to the incidence of unexpected emissions of CFC 11 back in 2018, 2019. But that was mainly also due to the engagement of individual parties. So in general, we would raise the question, would a reaction also in other constellations be equally efficient and rapid than it was in this particular case? So that would be certainly a kind of an issue that we would also like to discuss during the meeting. Apart from that, the agenda should mainly focus on the issues raised in the papers presented for this meeting. And in particular, an important issue will be the efficiency of licensing systems, which are crucial for an efficient implementation. In this sense, to develop a bit further and to provide you with some ideas how to structure the meeting and how to set the agenda, We would like to engage with other parties to discuss this in an informal setting, to listen to other parties, how to set a meaningful agenda that is focused and that could then result in tangible and concrete ideas for a follow-up at the meeting of the parties. Thank you.
Thank you, EU, for that intervention and for breaking the ice. I'm seeing no other requests for the floor at, okay, that's a trick. Thank you so much. I'm now seeing Canada. Canada, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Co-Chair. It's always good to say I don't see any requests for the floor and in order to get requests from the floor. We thank the Secretariat for its presentation and the documents that have been prepared on licensing systems, which we found very useful, as well as the other document related to practices for preventing illegal trade. Like the European Union, we think it would be useful to provide perhaps some ideas for the Ozone Secretariat to structure and identify key topics for the one-day meeting that we will be having before the MOP. I think the wording in decision 36/9 is really vague in terms of what this one-day meeting is about, and we're getting approval to travel to this one-day meeting, but we can't really explain exactly what it's about just based on the decision that is there. Of course, we can take a decision, at this meeting, but, hopefully, we can provide some ideas, in an informal manner to the Ozone Secretariat, and on the understanding that they'll use their best judgment to take those into account. We can do this in an informal group. We have a few ideas ourselves. I think if there's an informal group, we can discuss that, or we could engage, in plenary if there's only a few delegations that are interested in proceeding in this manner. We're in your hands on how to proceed, Madam Co-Chair.
Thank you, Canada. I now have on the list Mali and Switzerland. Mali, you have the floor.
Okay. Bonjour à tout le monde.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you, Co-Chair, for giving me the floor. I'd like to join my voice to that of my predecessors in thanking the government of Thailand for the warm welcome and thanking the Secretariat for the sound organization of this event. My concern is as follows. Given that the effectiveness of the licensing system depends in part on the viability of data, or the reliability of data, I'd like us to consider data sent by the parties before national requests as provisional data. If this aspect is not taken into account in certain countries, we will still have data which are far from reality, wherein the goal is to have coherent data which are exhaustive and reliable. So I'd like us to talk about this during the meeting of the parties. Thank you.
Thank you, distinguished delegate from Mali. I now give the floor to Switzerland.
Thank you, Madam Co-Chair. We would like to echo the distinguished delegates from the EU and Canada in thanking the Secretariat for their preparative work. And also we see value in having a conversation during this meeting to make some more ideas of how do we take best value out of the meeting that is scheduled before the MOP on strengthening the Montreal Protocol institutions. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Switzerland. Are there any other requests for the floor? United Kingdom, you have the floor.
Thank you to the Secretariat for this presentation. The UK continues to see this as an important issue and appreciates the Secretariat's briefing materials, which set out a clear picture of licensing and illegal trade. The UK would also like to thank the Secretariat for sharing the note from this year's implementation committee that was drafted in response to Decision 36-9, as well as the compilations of licensing and illegal trade. We agree with Canada and the European Union and would also like to discuss this agenda item further in an informal meeting in December. And so in order to kind of discuss that the informal meeting in December, we'd really appreciate an informal group this meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, distinguished delegate from the United Kingdom. So at this time, I'm seeing no other requests for the floor. Iran, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Co-Chair, and also thanks the Secretary to present a very nice report. I want actually to use this opportunity to thank the Secretariat also for updating the EPIC. In 2022, to increase the number of the countries up to 100, and also the company is up to 2,000. I wanted to request the other countries who they didn't join the EPIC, so to join the EPIC and to reduce the illegal trade on the what do you say, illegal important trades in the world. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Iran. So at this time, I'm not seeing any other requests for the floor. I take note of all of the interventions, so I'll ask for 1 minute to confer with the Secretariat and my co-chair. Thank you everyone for your patience. So, noting the interests of parties to have further discussions on this issue and to make advancements and plans for the meeting, the proposal from the co-chairs is that we have an informal group where interested parties will meet with the Secretariat at a time and day to be determined. So that is the proposal from the chair. Interested parties will meet with the Secretariat to discuss the matter further. Are there any objections to this proposal? Thank you very much. Turkey, you have the floor.
Yeah, thank you very much, Co-Chair. Distinguished delegates, we would like to thank the Secretary for the report. We would like to add some comments for decision 36. Transit movements are not subject to licensing under the current system. Considering countries have high trade volume, licensing of the transit trade is not technically or administratively feasible. Also, it is not compliant with the core objectives of the Customs Union Agreement, which aims to facilitate trade and remove barriers. In addition to that, international transit agreements do not impose a licensing obligation for goods moved under the transit regime. But according to the risk assessment, if needed, customs authorities already carry out detailed inspections and collaborate through the international investigations intelligence mechanism, ensuring effective oversight. So we believe that practical guidance is needed on how such measures can be implemented, especially in the countries with high trade volumes. On the other hand, we would like to highlight the situation of the transit transactions reported as illegal trade. In this context, we also kindly request clarification on how responsibilities are determined among the importing country, the exporting country, and the country used for transit in cases involving such incidents. Thank you very much, Madam Co-Chair.
Thank you very much for that intervention, Turkiye. Based on your intervention, then, I would suggest that you also join the group of interested parties in the discussion with the Secretariat to outline what would be discussed at the informal meeting. Thank you. So with that, I will hand over to my co-chair, Annie, to take us through the next agenda item.
Thank you very much, Chantel. So we're now turning to agenda item 8 on the review of the need for the 2.5% tail for servicing and non-servicing applications from 2030 to 2040 for Article 5 parties. A long time ago in ancient history, in Decision 1906, the parties agreed to review this year the need for the annual average of the 2.5% HCFC tail for the period 2030 to 2040 for Article 5 parties. Parties will recall that a review of the 0.5% HCFC servicing tail for non-Article 5 parties took place in 2015, which resulted in 3 TAP reports and an adjustment to the protocol to add more applications to which the tail would apply for all parties. As mentioned by the Secretariat in its note for this meeting, the 2022 quadrennial assessment reports of the TEEP and the TOCs might be the latest comprehensive reports to contain relevant information of HCFC alternatives when considering this agenda item. I would turn to the delegations to see if there are any delegations wishing to take the floor on this agenda item. If delegations are interested, please make your intentions known quickly, otherwise I will move on. Thank you very much. Bangladesh, you have the floor.
Good morning. Thank you, Madam Co-Chair. Considering the A5 countries scenario, Bangladesh believes that keeping this 2.5% tail consumption until 2040 is very crucial. Generally, the people of our country use their rack equipment for as long as possible, which has given this product an extended life period. Moreover, Bangladesh has transformed 4 major AC producing companies to R290 just in 2024. Before this conversion, they have produced a good number of HCFC-based equipment, which is still in the market. We expect that this product will be in use for a long time. We also believe that this situation exists in many other A5 countries. Considering this, we think that we will need a certain amount of allowance for servicing this existing rack equipment until 2040. Thank you, Madam.
Thank you very much, Bangladesh, and I note your interest in keeping the tail as it is, as far as I understand it. Now I have 2 delegations wishing to take the floor, Argentina and China. Argentina, you have the floor.
Thank you, Co-Chair. For our delegation, during the half-day session, at the last session that we have related to Kigali Amendment, I think we mentioned that we have a very serious issue we still don't know how we're going to be able to resolve it, because it's a sector where we haven't yet identified the possibility of finding alternatives for transition, in particular for large port fisheries. And we have a very large fleet of boats between 70 and 100 meters long, and some with large refrigeration capacities. And unfortunately, until present, we haven't found alternatives in order to modify refrigeration systems on these. And changing of boats would require a massive, excessive budget. Therefore, for us, the tail of 2.5% is very important. Although it's not enough to resolve the issue, but we understand that we need to leave it as it is. And perhaps start to look into this issue to see if there's any alternatives, to see whether we can modify this tail, whether through a critical use request or another request, or an essential use request. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Argentina, for those observations. After China on my list, I now have Malaysia and Lesotho. China, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Co-Chair. A5 refrigerant and equipment, if we look at the trend and the realities, we believe that it is necessary for us to retain the 2.5% annual average for servicing purposes. Although A5 parties will complete the HCFC phase out by 2030, however, using HCFC refrigerant and air conditioning are still important, widely used in residential, commercial, industrial, manufacturing, medical sectors, in key sectors. And these services lifespan are extending to 2040 or beyond. Therefore, we believe our delegation believes that retaining the 2.5% of HCFC baseline is a rigid and necessary requirement to ensure the safe and reliable operation of these systems and equipment. Thank you.
Thank you very much, China, for those views. Malaysia, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Co-Chair. Malaysia wish to reiterate the importance of retaining the provision for an annual average of 2.5% of the HCFC baseline consumption for servicing purpose during the period of 2030 to 2040. While we are making steady progress in transitioning to low GWP alternative and non-HCFC technology, there remain a continued reliance on HCFC-based systems across many essential facilities. These systems are critical for maintaining public health, safety, and essential services, particularly in areas where replacement or retrofit options are not immediately viable due to the technical and economic constraints. The availability of HCFC for servicing is therefore vital to ensure the safe and efficient operation of this system throughout the remaining service life. This provision also supports the livelihood of servicing technicians, many of whom are small-scale enterprises, enabling them to manage legacy, equipment responsibility, and safety while the transition to sustainable alternative is underway. The continued ability of HCFC for servicing is essential to keep this system running safely and efficiently until the end of their useful life. It also helps support servicing technicians, many of them from small businesses, in handling old equipment responsible while the transition. Malaysia urged that any review of this servicing allowance take into full account the ongoing practical needs and challenges on the ground. We support the continued application of the 2.5% servicing provision throughout the 2030 to 2040 period to ensure system can keep running in the public interest. We remain committed to the effective implementation of HPMP Stage 3 and to strengthening the life cycle refrigerant management for end-of-life equipment to support a sustainable and inclusive transition. Thank you, Madam Co-Chair.
Thank you very much, Malaysia. Ms. Thoto, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair, and good morning, everybody. The major question which we have is that we know that currently, or from the reports we got, including the TIP reports, we don't have the solution for every appliance or for every substance that we are working on. It means we still have the gap whereby in some substances we still do not have the alternatives. This tells that we still need to have that 2.5 tail, so that for the time when we are still working on the alternatives, or for the time when TIP is still trying to find out whether we have all the alternatives, we still have that chance of using that 2.5% as our provision for the implementation. I therefore believe for now, until we have all the alternatives required, we still need to keep that 2.5% for those 2 years until we have the indicators that shows that we have all the alternatives that we need, including the MDI's alternatives. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lesotho, for those views. I have one more delegation on my list wishing to take the floor. Well, okay, now two. So if any delegation wishes to take the floor on this issue, please do so before Armenia finishes its intervention. Armenia, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Madam Co-Chair. Since our delegation is taking the floor for the first time, please allow us to express our gratitude to the Ozone Secretariat and the government of Thailand for once again providing us with the opportunity and comfortable conditions for collaboration and interaction. Despite all the efforts that Armenia has been undertaking on its way to phase down HCFCs, we still believe it to be very crucial and necessary to retain the servicing tail of 2.5% to ensure the smooth operation of the remaining equipment bank operating with HCFCs during the period 2030-2040, as the LRM issue hasn't been well introduced yet into our countries, and we cannot be sure whether the sufficient amount of recovered, recycled, or reclaimed substances will be available in the country. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Armenia. So I now have two delegations wishing to take the floor, and the list is now closed with Indonesia and Bhutan. So Indonesia, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Co-Chair. We would also like to echo the concern made by many parties on the need to maintain the need of consumption 2.5% HCFC for 2030-2040 period, particularly since HCFC 123 is still used in the fire suppression and centrifugal chiller in office building. These equipments are designed to be used for 25 years and more. Limited use for servicing are still crucial to ensure the operating of essential infrastructure, including fire suppression systems. We also took concern that until today, the alternatives is still limited and not available due to PFAS issue, and also not affordable for some of Article 5 countries. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Indonesia. And lastly, Bhutan, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Co-Chair. Bhutan undertook an accelerated hydrofluorocarbon phase-out management plan through a single-stage HPMP project. As of 2025, Bhutan has successfully phased out 98% of its HCFC consumption and has now entered the servicing tail phase. accounting for the remaining 2.5 of our baseline consumption, which will be maintained until 2035. We are already witnessing the benefits of this servicing tail. It provides critical support to our end users during the gradual transition to non-HCFC equipment, which is a time-consuming process due to financial, technical, and logistical constraints, especially for small and informal operators. In this context, Bhutan strongly feels the need to retain the servicing tail allowance. It ensures that the phase-out process remains both technically feasible and socially responsible while allowing us to maintain compliance with the Montreal Protocol without disrupting essential services. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Bhutan. Just one moment. Thank you very much, delegations. I think what we heard up here was a unanimity of view about the need to retain the 2.5% tail for servicing and other applications. We are not of the view that a decision, we're of the view that a decision is not taken, is not needed, I'm sorry, and that a decision would only need to be taken if we were changing the tail. So with this conclusion, we will retain, there's no parties wishing to change the 2.5% tail for servicing and other applications, and therefore we close this agenda item with that understanding. Is that agreeable? I don't see any delegations objecting to that conclusion. Thank you very much, parties, and we'll move to our next agenda item. Chantal, you have the floor.
Thank you, Annie. I now wish to introduce the next agenda item. Item 9 on the classification of Palestine, the State of Palestine, as an Article 5 party and access to support from the Multilateral Fund. Parties will recall that this matter was included in the agenda of the preparatory segment of the combined COP13, MOP36. Subsequently, the State of Palestine requested postponement of the consideration of this matter to MOP37. At the suggestion of the co-chairs of the preparatory segment, the item was deleted from the provisional agenda of COP13, MOP37, and parties agreed to include this item on the agenda for this meeting. Background information to assist parties in their consideration of the request of the State of Palestine is contained in the Secretariat's note for COP13, MOP36, and in Annex 3 to the addendum of that note. In addition, parties will note that the State of Palestine has submitted a draft decision with explanatory note, which are contained in document 47/CRP2. This is available on the in-session document page of the meeting portal. I would like to give the floor to the State of Palestine to introduce its request. State of Palestine, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Co-Chair. On behalf of the State of Palestine, I would like to express our sincere appreciation to the Kingdom of Thailand for hosting this session of the open-ended working group meetings and for the warm hospitality extended to all delegates. I also extend our gratitude to the Ozone Secretariat for their excellent organization of this meeting and for their continued support in facilitating the effective participation of all delegates. and to the co-chairs for their leadership in guiding the work of this meeting. We also would like to thank and extend our sincere appreciation to all parties for their support in including the item proposed by the State of Palestine in the agenda of the meeting and in giving us the opportunity in introducing our proposal. Distinguished Madam Co-Chairs, Excellencies, and Delegates, our proposal is a draft decision on the classification of the State of Palestine as a party operating under paragraph 1 of Article 5 of the Montreal Protocol and access to support from the Multilateral Fund. Since the State of Palestine acceded to the Vienna Convention and the Montreal Protocol in 2019, and despite its minimal contribution to ozone depletion and its limited resources, the State of Palestine has proactively implemented numerous technical and regulatory measures to fulfill its national obligations. These efforts have included submitting the required national data on its consumption of controlled substances, enacting laws for the safe management of chemicals, and combating the illegal production and trade in hazardous materials. In addition, the State of Palestine has focused on promoting ozone-friendly and energy-efficient technologies, raising awareness among importers and end users about environmentally friendly practices, and preparing policies to control air quality and reduce emissions. The State of Palestine reiterates its strong commitment to the goals of the Montreal Protocol and respectfully calls upon the parties to support its full integration. Official recognition under Article 5 and access to support under the Multilateral Fund are essential in enhancing its institutional and technical capacities, establishing a national ozone unit, and supporting more effective implementation of the ozone treaties. Thank you.
Thank you, distinguished delegate from the State of Palestine. I now open the floor for general statements, as well as any questions to the State of Palestine and reactions on the draft decision just presented. I have on my list Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, and Lebanon. Kuwait, you have the floor.
Shukran. Thank you, Madam Co-Chair. I'm speaking in Arabic in appreciation for the State of Palestine. In my name and on behalf of my country, people and government, I would like to address the State of Palestine, the living people and the living representative of all humanity, defending the rights of their people on this planet. Well, I really find it odd that the State of Palestine is not part of this family. We have long spoken about the protocol as being a family, and that belonging to this family is key to our success. Madam Co-Chair, ladies and gentlemen, it is the right of people to be fully represented and to be financed, funded, and to be considered as a state. The State of Palestine is a brotherly state that is acting under Article 5. Back in 2019, it ratified the protocol, but it's still not a member. So I'm asking the legal advisor of the Ozone Secretary, why is it that Palestine has not yet acceded to the protocol up until now as not part of the family of the protocol? Have there been any precedents? Why hasn't the State of Palestine case been submitted to the implementation committee in order to ask Palestine whether it has to comply with or to submit any further information for it to be accepted. Thank you very much.
Thank you, distinguished delegate of Kuwait. Before I take any interventions, I will allow the Ozone Secretariat to respond. Ozone Secretariat, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Madam Co-Chair. The State of Palestine acceded to the Vienna Convention for the Protection of the Ozone Layer and to the Montreal Protocol on 18 March 2019. Both treaties entered into force for the State of Palestine on 16 June 2019. However, the State of Palestine has not ratified amendments to the Montreal Protocol. And so regarding accession to the treaties, the State of Palestine has been a party since 2019. Thank you.
Thank you, Ozone Secretariat. And now continue with Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Coach. The Kingdom of Saudi Arabia would like to express its heartfelt appreciation for the classification of State of Palestine as a working member according to paragraph or Article 5. This will enable Palestine to avail itself of the technical and financial multilateral fund assistance. This support is a step that will enable Palestine to live up to its commitments under the protocol, under the Montreal Protocol, which will enable it also to implement its national plan to implement the protocol. It is important that the fund meet the needs of all developing countries, particularly countries with high levels of temperature, so that they can meet the needs of their peoples. Thank you.
Lebanon, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Co-Chair. Lebanon would like also to express its full support for the request submitted by the State of Palestine to be recognized as an Article 5 party under the Montreal Protocol. This is not just a technical matter, it's a matter of justice, of equity, and of inclusion as well. Palestine has the right, as any other party facing development challenges, to benefit from the financial and technical support provided through the Multilateral Fund. The Montreal Protocol has always been a beacon of cooperation and fairness, and we believe it should remain so by ensuring that no party is left behind. From Lebanon, this support is not only political, it's also personal. We share the same region, we know the same challenges, we face them, and we carry a deep sense of solidarity with the Palestinian people. Recognizing Palestine as an Article 5 party is the right thing to do. It's consistent with the values of this protocol and with the spirit of international cooperation that binds us all together. We invite fellow parties to consider this request with empathy, with fairness, and with the hope that Montreal Protocol remains a space where unity overcomes division. Thank you.
Thank you, distinguished delegate. Lebanon. I have on my list Bahrain, Cuba, Indonesia, Tunisia, Iraq, United States of America, and the Syrian Arab Republic, and now China. I give the floor to Bahrain.
Thank you, Madam Co-Chair. Good morning, everyone. Our delegation considers that Palestine, since the year 2019, when it acceded to the Montreal Protocol and the Vienna Convention on the Protection of the Ozone, has taken upon itself to live up to voluntary compliance with the requirements of the Montreal Protocol. The state in question has taken all the steps We have met with the delegations of the State of Palestine in West Asia groups, and we have been aware of the steps that have been taken by the State of Palestine. So our delegation supports full membership of State of Palestine under Article 5 and the possibility for this state to have access to all the technical and financial support. Of course, this is based conditional on the state's commitment to its obligations under Article 5. Thank you.
I now give the floor to Cuba. Cuba, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Madam Co-Chair. The government and the people of the Republic of Cuba support all those who have spoken in favor of the right of the Palestine state, and also support that Palestine be accepted under the Article 5 protocol. Thank you.
Indonesia, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Co-Chair. Since acceding the Montreal Protocol in 2019, the State of Palestine has proactively implemented numerous technical and regulatory measures to fulfill its national obligations despite facing extraordinary socioeconomic and geopolitical challenges. These challenges underscore the critical need for tailored support to enable Palestine to meet its obligation under the protocol effectively. In this regard, we would like to express our support for Palestine's request to be formally classified as an Article 5 party under the Montreal Protocol. This classification is essential to enable the State of Palestine to become eligible for financial and technical assistance through the Multilateral Fund in order to support its implementation of the protocol. Thus, we encourage all parties to engage constructively to facilitate Palestine's full integration and ensuring that no party is left behind in our collective effort in protecting the ozone layer. Indonesia would also like to call upon the Secretariat, in collaboration with relevant technical bodies and parties, to provide proactive guidance and support to Palestine to expedite its full integration. In conclusion, in the spirit of inclusiveness and faith in multilateralism, we would like to reiterate our strong support for the CRP proposed by Palestine on the classification of the State of Palestine as a party operating under paragraph 1 of Article 5 Montreal Protocol. I thank you, Madam Co-Chair.
Thank you, Indonesia. Tunisia, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Co-Chair. Tunisia also supports the classification of Palestine as a member under the Article 5 so that it can have access to the financial and technical support. This will facilitate its integration in the international community in our effort to reduce the global warming gases. And this is what is actually required from all parties. Thank you.
Thank you, Tunisia. Iraq, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Co-Chair. First, we would like to thank the Kingdom of Thailand for its warm hospitality. We also would like to thank the Ozone Secretariat for the outstanding organization of this meeting. Iraq supports the classification of Palestine as a working member of Article 5 of the protocol and to have access to support from the Multilateral Fund. Thank you.
Now give the floor to the United States.
Thank you very much, Co-Chair, and our thanks to the proponents for walking through their proposal. I would like to share several thoughts in this intervention, including those I noted on this item at the adoption of the agenda. With respect to the proposed decision, we have several comments and questions regarding the request to modify the list of Article 5 countries. First, I would note that the United States sent a notice to the UN Depositary in 2019 indicating that we do not consider Palestine as being eligible to join the Montreal Protocol and Vienna Convention, and we therefore, as a legal matter, do not consider the United States to be in a treaty relationship with them under these agreements. For this reason, we are not supportive with the intent of this CRP. Second, we would note that the implications of the proposal would be to open the list of Article 5 countries, including creating financial eligibility. We believe that for countries, they should first ratify the London Amendment, which established the multilateral fund, and other amendments that include control measures before considering any changes to the list of Article 5 countries. Third, to note as a technical matter that Article 5 stipulates a threshold of 0.3 kilograms per capita of consumption relating to Article 5 status, and we would have some questions regarding the status and accuracy of such data that specifically relates to Palestine that we would want to be able to understand further and consider in more detail in any deliberations here. With respect to the broader issue of modifying the list of Article 5 parties, I wish to reiterate the points my delegation raised at the 35th meeting of the parties, that the list of Article 5 parties needs to reflect current economic reality. In the case of the world's largest producer and consumer of controlled substances, China, we believe they should be removed from the list of Article 5 countries, and in particular, that they should no longer receive financial support. Such support is simply unnecessary at this time. We will need to discuss this issue as part of any discussion this year that reopens the list of Article 5 countries. And finally, Madam Co-Chair, just to say that I would suggest as a path forward that perhaps informal discussions on the margins could help us have a further exchange on these issues, as well as potentially provide some clarifications to a few of the specific issues that I raised in my intervention. Thank you.
Thank you, USA, and I'll give the floor to the Syrian Arab Republic.
Thank you, Madam Co-Chair. I would like to thank you for your efforts in organizing this meeting and preparing the documents. We have asked for the recognition of Palestine as a working member under Article 5 list. This is an expression of legality and fairness, and this will enable Palestine to have access to the resources of the multilateral fund and will enable Palestine to live up to its obligations and to be part of the international efforts to protect the land and the people. Thank you.
Thank you, Syrian Arab Republic. I now give the floor to China. China, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Co-Chair. On the Palestinian issue, China's position is consistent and clear. We support Palestine's greater participation in international affairs as a state. Specifically, under the Montreal Protocol framework, given that Palestine has acceded to the protocol in 2019, China firmly supports Palestine's request to be listed as an A5 developing country. We agree that Palestine will receive funding from the MLF after its ratification of the London Amendment enters into force. We Also, in terms of integrating into the protocol, we hope that it can get support from all parties and the Secretariat. China calls on all parties not to set up obstacles for this on political grounds. Just now, certain country also mentioned China's developing country status. Now we would like to respond briefly. First of all, this issue has nothing to do with this agenda item. As we emphasized at the opening of this meeting, we hope that the parties could focus on the agenda items themselves rather than deviating from them. And secondly, China's developing country status, especially its status under the Montreal Protocol, has sufficient factual and international legal basis. If we want to talk about it, dive into it, it may take days and nights, and I don't want to waste our precious time. I would also like to emphasize that the first MOP identified the list of developing countries, including China, and subsequently decided that the adjustment of the developing country status should be applied for by relevant parties and reviewed on a case-by-case basis. And such status cannot be changed at the request of one country or a few countries. Thank you.
Thank you, China. I have 6 delegations on my list. If you wish to make an intervention on this particular agenda item, please do so now before we close the list. So I have Iran, Maldives, Egypt, Qatar, Bangladesh, Brazil, Senegal, and Somalia. Iran, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Co-Chair. Actually, we believe that we are here to talk about how to save the ozone layer accordingly to save the human life. So we believe that the ozone layer does cross the geographical borders. So we have not to think about the borders. We have to think about the entire world and also the entire ozone layer. So that is why I wanted to request the parties and also the Secretariat to welcome the proposal of the State of Palestine, and we strongly also endorse this proposal and strongly requesting MLF to fund, to help them financially and also technically to manage their activities regarding the saving ozone layer. And also we believe that all the agenda has its own titles and all the materials just we wanted to discuss under each agenda should be pertain to this agenda. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Iran. I now give the floor to the Maldives.
Thank you, Madam Co-Chair. As this is the first time that Maldives is taking the floor, please allow us to thank the Ozone Secretariat for the excellent arrangements for the meeting and thank the Kingdom of Thailand for the warm hospitality. Recognizing the efforts of the State of Palestine in voluntarily implementing ozone action and protection, Maldives supports classifying the State of Palestine under the Article 5 of Montreal Protocol and providing support from the Multilateral Fund. Thank you.
Thank you, Maldives. I now give Egypt the floor.
Thank you, Madam Co-Chair. On behalf of Egypt, I would like to express our full support for the classification of Palestine as a working member under paragraph 1 of Article 5. This recognition will enable Palestine to have access to technical and financial support from the Multilateral Fund This will help Palestine to live up to its obligations under the protocol and to contribute to international efforts to protect the ozone layer. This step will achieve justice. We remind you of the obligations of all countries under Article 5, including the State of Palestine, to achieve the goals of the protocol. Thank you.
Thank you, Egypt. There are several parties that have requested the floor. So as we go forward, I intend to close the list. So again, this is an appeal for any other delegations that request to take the floor on this issue to please indicate now before we close the list. I now give Qatar the floor.
May the peace of God be upon you. The State of Qatar would like to reiterate its full support to classification of Palestine as a working member of under paragraph 1 of Article 5, including its right to have access to financing from the multilateral fund. Qatar thinks that that Qatar has the right as a developing country to benefit from the financial and technical support of the multilateral fund so that it can live up to its obligations under the protocol. It is also the right of the Palestinian people to have access to this support in line with other peoples. This will develop its capacities and enable it to achieve its obligations. We call on the Secretariat to provide the necessary financial and technical support, including facilitating applications for membership, including what the U.S. has raised. Thank you.
Thank you, distinguished delegate of Qatar. So on this list, I have Bangladesh, Brazil, Senegal, Somalia, Bosnia and Herzegovina, sorry, Norway, Morocco, and the Russian Federation. Again, if parties wish to take the floor on this issue, please indicate before we close the list. Otherwise, we will close after the Russian Federation and decide on a way forward. So, Bangladesh, we give you the floor.
Thank you, Madam Co-Chair. We express our full support for the classification of the State of Palestine as a party operating under paragraph 1 of Article 5 of the Montreal Protocol. Since its accession to the Vienna Convention and the Montreal Protocol in March 2019, the State of Palestine has demonstrated its commitment to the principles and obligation of this agreement. But the absence of formal classification has prevented Palestinians from accessing much needed technical and financial assistance through the multilateral fund. This support is crucial for enabling full compliance and effective participation, particularly for countries with limited resources. We welcome the request by the State of Palestine for formal classification and comments its continued engagement with the process. We urge all parties to support the timely adoption of the decision that grants the State of Palestine officially Article 5 status and access to the multilateral fund, in line with the precedent set under the decision 6.5. Such recognition will uphold the principle of equity and inclusivity that underpin the success of the Montreal Protocol and strengthen global cooperation in protecting the ozone layer. Thank you, Madam.
Thank you, Bangladesh, and I'll give the floor to Brazil.
Thank you, Madam Co-Chair. Since this is the first time our delegation is taking the floor, we would like to thank the government of Thailand for hosting this meeting. We also wish to express our appreciation to the Ozone Secretariat and the co-chairs for their excellent work in preparing and guiding our discussions. Reaffirming Brazil's commitment to supporting the adequate representation of the State of Palestine and to ensuring its access to financial resources, Brazil supports the recognition of the State of Palestine as a party operating under paragraph 1 of Article 5 of the Montreal Protocol, provided that all technical and legal requirements are met. Thank you.
Thank you. Brazil. Senegal, you have the floor.
Merci, Madame.
Thank you, Madam Co-Chair. Senegal is in favor and gives its support to the State of Palestine in order that it may have paragraph 1, article 5 access to the protocol, but there is an obstacle, which is the amendment obstacle. So Senegal has the following position. If the State of Palestine ratifies the amendment, there are no more hurdles to its access to the multilateral fund. Therefore, we invite Palestine to ratify, and Senegal will support and ask members to support Palestine so that it may ratify the London Amendment. And if this is done, there are no more obstacles to its joining the fund under paragraph 1, article 5 of the protocol. Once they have ratified the London, all doors will be open to enable the State of Palestine to benefit from access to the multilateral fund. And so Senegal supports the request and accession of Palestine.
Thank you, Senegal. I give the floor to Somalia.
Thank you, Madam Co-Chair. As Somalia taking its first time the floor, we would like to express our sincere appreciation to the hosting country, the Royal Thailand, and the Ozone Secretariat. Somalia took the floor to express its unequivocal support for the request by the State of Palestine to be formally classified as a part operating under paragraph 1 of Article 5 of the Montreal Protocol on substances that deplete the ozone layer. The Montreal Protocol stands as a beacon of multilateral environmental cooperation, a testament to what we can achieve when we unite for a common global good. Its success hinges on the principle of common but differentiated responsibilities. Acknowledging that developing countries require specific support to fulfill their obligation, this principle is enshrined in Article 5, which provides the necessary financial and technical assistance through the multilateral fund. Madam Co-Chair, Somalia fully supports the request of the State of Palestine and believes that supporting Palestine's request is consistent with our collective commitment to a healthy ozone layer and to fostering universal participation and compliance. It is an investment in the long-term success in the protocol and in upholding the principles of international environmental cooperation. Thank you.
Thank you. Somalia, distinguished delegate of Bosnia and Herzegovina.
Thank you very much, Madam Co-Chair, for giving me the floor. Since Bosnia and Herzegovina is taking the floor for the first time, we would like to express our sincere appreciation to government of Thailand and the Ozone Secretariat for excellent arrangement of this meeting. Bosnia and Herzegovina would like to express full support to request of State Palestine to be classified as Article 5 country. State of Palestine, as a party of Vienna Convention and Montreal Protocol, has full right to be supported in order to implement their expressed commitments. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bosnia. I now give the floor to Norway.
Thank you. We would like to thank the State of Palestine for presenting the CRP and for providing the Ozone Secretariat with their consumption data of controlled substances. We acknowledge the challenge of providing accurate data, in particular for the year 1987, that is almost 40 years back in time. However, we understand it has been the common practice to also consider best estimates, and we would like to appreciate the State of Palestine's best efforts in providing the most realistic estimates. On this basis, we are in a position to support the classification of the State of Palestine as an Article 5 country under the Montreal Protocol. However, we strongly encouraged the State of Palestine to ratify each of the amendments of the Montreal Protocol to allow it to access to the financial support from the Multilateral Fund, as well as enabling it to contribute to the broad participation in achieving the goals of the Montreal Protocol. Thank you.
Thank you, Norway. I have 6 remaining delegations on the list, the last being Malaysia. So again, final appeal. If there are any parties that would like to intervene on this matter, please do so. And once you're added to the list, I will close the list. Otherwise, so Mauritania, you've been added. So at the end of this, we'll be seeking to close the list after Malaysia. Morocco, you have the floor.
Bonjour. Merci.
Good morning and thank you, Co-Chair. Since it's the first time that the Kingdom of Morocco is taking the floor, we would like to thank the Kingdom of Thailand for their warm welcome and the Ozone Secretariat for organising this meeting. Morocco also aligns itself with the delegations that have taken the floor before us and supports Palestine's request to be classified as a Article 5 country in order to benefit from the support of the Multilateral Fund so that it can meet its obligations under the Montreal Protocol and as a result contribute in turn to preserving the ozone layer. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Morocco. I give the floor to the Russian Federation.
Спасибо, господин председатель.
Thank you, Co-Chair. We have heard arguments for and against the classification of Palestine as an Article 5 party. Russian Federation believes that it's just to give the right to Palestine to obtain financial support from the Multilateral Fund. We therefore support the reclassification of Palestine, in particular if we take account of the current status of infrastructure in Palestine. Thank you.
Thank you, Russian Federation. And I'll give the floor to Pakistan.
Thank you, Co-Chair, Madam Co-Chair. Pakistan supports the classification of State of Palestine as a party operating under paragraph 1 of Article 5 of Montreal Protocol and endorses its access to support from the Multilateral Fund. We believe this step is consistent with the principles of equity and inclusiveness that have guided the protocol's implementation, ensuring that all eligible Article 5 countries, including the State of Palestine, receive the necessary technical and financial support will strengthen global efforts to protect the ozone layer and promote environmental sustainability. Thank you.
Thank you, Pakistan. I see that Turkey is asking for the floor for a second time. Turkey, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Co-Chair. Turkey supports the accession of the State of Palestine of the Article 5 of the Montreal Protocol. As one of the most successful international environment agreements, the Montreal Protocol demonstrates the power of the global cooperation in addressing urgent environmental challenges. Article 5 provides critical financial and technical and institutional support to developing countries, enabling them to phase out the ozone-depleting substances while promoting sustainable development. As a country facing measurements, environmental and economical challenges, the State of Palestine will greatly benefit from the assistance offered under this article. It would encourage border cooperation, capacity building, and knowledge sharing among the countries facing similar environmental pressures. Supporting the State of Palestine's involvement ensures that no nation is left behind in our collective effort to protect the ozone layer and fight climate change. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Turkey. And I'll give the floor to the UAE, United Arab Emirates.
شكرا سيدي الرئيس. تود دولة الإمارات العربية.
Thank you, Co-Chair. The United Arab Emirates fully supports the classification of the State of Palestine as a party operating under paragraph 1 of Article 5 of the Montreal Protocol. We are convinced that all parties have the right to enjoy technical and financial support from the multilateral fund. The UAE invites you, therefore, to accept the classification of the State of Palestine as a party operating under paragraph 1 of Article 5 so that they can access funds and assistance from the multilateral fund. The UAE confirms that this assistance will strengthen the efforts deployed by Palestine in order to preserve the ozone layer and to achieve our joint goals in line with the principle of equity and integrity upon which the Montreal Protocol is founded. Thank you very much.
Thank you, United Arab Emirates. And our final intervention in terms of speakers, I have Malaysia. Malaysia, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Madam Co-Chair. Malaysia would like to take the floor to express its support to the classifications of the State of Palestine as a country operating under paragraph 1 of Article 5 of the Montreal Protocol. This recognition is important to ensure Palestine has fair access to the multilateral fund to meet its obligations under the protocol. We believe all parties, including Palestine, should be given equal opportunity to participate and benefit from international cooperation on ozone protection. Malaysia stands in solidarity with Palestine and urge parties to support this proposal. Thank you.
Thank you, Malaysia. Kindly give me one moment to confer with the Secretariat and my co-chair. Thank you. Oh, thank you for your patience, delegates. I see that Mauritania is asking for the floor. This is the second. Okay, but this is the second time that I've seen you ask for the floor and then take it back. So are you sure that you don't wish to take the floor? Okay. All right. So Mauritania, you have the floor.
Merci, Madame la
Thank you, Co-Chair. Since it's the first time that my delegation is taking the floor, we would also like to thank the Kingdom of Thailand for their warm welcome and the Ozone Secretariat for the sound organization of this meeting. On behalf of Mauritania, we express our firm support to the legitimate request by the State of Palestine to be recognized as a country under Article 5 of the Montreal Protocol. This recognition is an issue of equity. The people of Palestine have the inalienable right to fully take part in the environmental protection mechanisms in line with international law. Access to Article 5 is essential so that Palestine can contribute despite the challenges it faces. Mauritania supports this request, which will therefore strengthen the universality and effectiveness of our shared combat against destruction of the ozone layer. Thank you.
Thank you, distinguished delegate of Mauritania, for that intervention. So I have conferred with the Ozone Secretariat and my co-chair. We've listened to all of the interventions made. There has been a lot of strong support for the state of Palestine. However, we know that there is no consensus. So the current proposal of the co-chairs is to have a discussion in the margins to clarify the issues and questions and concerns that are being raised. And then once we do that, we will come back later in the meeting to discuss and determine the way forward. So that is the proposal from the chair, that we have informal discussions in the margins to clarify the issues raised, and then we come back to this agenda item later in the meeting to discuss the way forward. Is that acceptable to the meeting? Okay, seeing no objections, that is how we will proceed with this agenda item. So interested parties, please, in the margins, and we will have a discussion, and then we will come back to it. You will report back on progress made. Thank you. And I now hand over to my co-chair, Annie.
Thank you very much, Chantel. We now come up to agenda item 10, which used to be 11 in the old agenda, but now we have a new agenda, so it's agenda item 10, which is other matters. And under other matters, we had a request from Rwanda to raise the issue related to regional initiatives on the implementation of the Kigali Amendment. We also note that both Rwanda and the United Kingdom have sponsored a CRP1 on this issue. And so I would like to turn to Rwanda or the United Kingdom to introduce their issue and also to introduce their CRP. You have, Rwanda, you will take the floor. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair, for the floor. The CRP acknowledges that there are already a range of national and regional initiatives promoting sustainable cooling and cold chains that support the implementation of the Kigali Amendments. In particularly recognizes the regional specialized centers of excellence have a key role to play in helping to address capacity building and technology adoptive activities supporting the optimized implementation of KIPs and HPMPs However, it also notes that it is still learning. There are still running to be done about the specific roles of these specialized centers, and therefore has 3 operational paragraphs which are intended to complement the important ongoing discussions at the EXCOM around approaches to support non-manufacturing activities and the role of regional specialized centers of excellence and testing centers with this. The operative text of the draft CRP, therefore, 1, proposes a one-day workshop be organized back-to-back with the 38th meeting of the parties to share information and experience on strategies, policies, and activities of existing regional centers of excellence and their approaches in promoting sustainable cooling and cold chain, and explore interlinkages with the implementation of the Kigali Amendment and the potential of enhanced cooperation and support. Also proposes the Ozone Secretariat prepare a background information note in recognition of the 10th anniversary of the Kigali Amendment, summarizing the strategies, policies, and activities of existing regional centers of excellence and approaches and their contribution to the implementation of the Kigali Amendment. 2, recognizes the ongoing discussions and progress at the EXCOM and updated paper that will be presented at the 97th EXCOM meeting in December in response to decision 9587, and requests the EXCOM to consider providing a window of funding for non-manufacturing activities to support implementation of the Kigali Amendment, in particular for regional centers of excellence, promoting sustainable and cooling chain, including for the integration of testing centers for energy efficiency. 3, invites parties and stakeholders to submit information on strategies, policies, and activities that contribute to sustainable cooling and cold chain, including on the establishment, operation, and functioning of the centers of excellence and testing centers for energy efficiency to the Ozone Secretariat by 1st April 2026. We would like to propose a contact group be set to discuss the text of this draft CRP. I thank you, Madam Co-Chair.
Thank you very much, Rwanda, for that introduction to your CRP and to your issue. The United Kingdom, you have the floor.
Thank you, co-chairs. I'd like to thank the distinguished delegate from Rwanda for introducing CRP1 relating to Centres of Excellence. The UK is pleased to be a co-sponsor. The Kigali Amendment has brought a new generation of challenges. As cooling and cold chain sectors grow rapidly, there is an urgent need to shift from isolated interventions towards a more holistic and systems-based approach. Specialised Centre of Excellence can deliver that. UK funding is supporting the development of a first-of-its-kind systems approach to cooling through the Sustainable Cooling and Cold Chain Solutions Programme. This offers a clear blueprint of what is possible through the Multilateral Fund. What makes the programme unique is its integrated strategy. Rather than addressing issues in silos, it delivers a coordinated suite of interventions grounded in system-wide understanding of a country's context and specific needs. It identifies risks and failure points, and crucially, how to mitigate them. It focuses not just on what needs to be done, but also on the why and the how. The approach is country-led and country-owned. At its heart is the programme's flagship facility located in Kigali, Rwanda, the Africa Centre of Excellence for Sustainable Cooling and Cold Chain, ACES. Alongside it, the first spoke, specialised outreach and knowledge establishment, has been established in Kenya. Together, they are building regional capacity building, enabling knowledge exchange and fostering collaborative research. ACES is not just a center, it's a replicable model. It demonstrates how a comprehensive and interconnected systems approach can address the challenge of cooling. It demonstrates that sustainable and scalable impact requires looking at an entire system, not just individual components. There is an urgent need for the Montreal Protocol to consider what opportunities there are to understand the role for this model to support optimized implementation of KIPs through replication of this type of approach. CRP1 therefore proposes a workshop to explore this role in more detail and begin to define how this type of center of excellence as vehicles of systems thinking can support the delivery of KIPs. There is also a request for XCOM to consider a dedicated funding window designed to complement ongoing XCOM discussions under the Energy Efficiency Operational Framework. The actions proposed in this CRP are intended not only to support and align with those discussions, but also to place them within a broader context, highlighting the policies, strategies, and practical actions that parties may consider as they implement the Kigali Amendment. We look forward to discussing the specifics in a contact group. Thank you.
Thank you very much, United Kingdom. So now I ask for delegations who would like to react to the CRP to take the floor. I have two delegations to start with. I have Senegal and Micronesia. So Senegal, you have the floor.
Merci.
Thank you, Co-Chair. Senegal supports this national regional initiative in order to support the implementation of the Kigali Amendment to the Montreal Protocol as presented by Rwanda and the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland. Senegal congratulates them on taking the initiative to present the CRP. Senegal is also a country in which there is a Centre of Excellence. And for the operative part presented by Rwanda, in particular the workshop, we would like to be discussed at the next MOP and also see the drafting of information document as requested in the margins of the anniversary of the Kigali Amendment. And we hope this can also be held in Kigali. So we support what is being presented by the co-sponsors. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Senegal. I now give the floor to Micronesia.
Thank you, Madam Co-Chair. The Federated States of Micronesia, similarly to the UK, would like to echo its support for the CRP proposed by Rwanda, which champions a regional approach. For a country like Micronesia, as well as other Pacific Island nations that are scattered across the region, a regional center offers us the opportunity to not only build, but to further retain that technical capacity of the Pacific in implementing obligations under the treaty. We also view this opportunity as a space to streamline and also harmonize activities around data collection and verification under the protocol, which in hand promotes a more standardized process. By coordinating technical assistance, training, and knowledge exchange through well-designed regional hubs, we see potential for greater cost efficiency in the use of the multilateral fund's resources. This approach would help avoid the duplication of efforts across countries and enable economies of scale. This is something that is increasingly important for countries with dispersed populations, limited technical capacities, and inadequate infrastructure and facilities for proper training. Moreover, we see an opportunity for these centers to serve as a regional knowledge-sharing platform, to not only foster South-South cooperation, but to also address an issue that's clearly being seen in the Pacific. For Micronesia, where external migration of labor force is heavily felt, a regional center of excellence allows us to quickly adapt and retain technical knowledge that would have already been lost as a result of fleeting human resources. Madam Co-Chair, this is not just a matter of interest, but is one of major relevance, speaking to the contextual realities as well as the special needs and circumstances of small and developing states. We encourage further discussion and analysis on how such centers can complement national efforts while also simultaneously maximizing the impact of the fund. Micronesia stands ready to engage in this conversation in order to support innovative and cooperative approaches that can strengthen our collective implementation of the Montreal Protocol. We are grateful to Rwanda and the UK for raising this idea and would like the opportunity to discuss this further and in a contact group if possible. Thank you, Madam Co-Chair.
Thank you very much, Federated States of Micronesia. On my list, I now have Botswana, Cameroon, Tuvalu, Grenada, Lesotho, Nigeria, Bahrain, Egypt, Namibia, Canada, Zambia, Trinidad and Tobago, Switzerland, EU, Armenia. Oh, now you're playing with me again, right? This is just mean. Armenia and the United States. I'm going to stop there. And we will proceed with this now very long list. So Botswana, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Co-Chair. We join others in thanking those on Secretariat for the excellent organization of the meeting, and we express our appreciation to the government and the people of Thailand for their warm hospitality, as always. Botswana aligns itself with the statement delivered by Rwanda and the UK and expresses full support for the draft decision contained in CRP1. We commend the proponents of the CRP for highlighting the important role of regional centers of excellence and testing facilities in advancing the objectives of the Kigali Amendment. Botswana has domesticated the MAPS, Minimum Energy Performance Standards for Cooling Equipment, developed by the Southern African Development Community, and as such, we underscore the need for regional testing centers to support implementation and enforcement and monitoring. Furthermore, the adoption of the same and other standards for the REC sectors by several countries in different regions demonstrates our shared commitment to promoting sustainable cooling and phasing out inefficient technologies. However, to ensure that these standards translate into real impact, we must invest in capacity to test and verify equipment performance. We support the request for a one-day workshop to facilitate experience sharing on the contribution of regional centers to the implementation of the Kigali Amendment. We also welcome the proposal for a dedicated funding window under the MLF to support non-manufacturing activities, including the development of testing centers for energy efficiency. Finally, we support the proposal for a contact group to further discuss this issue. Thank you, Madam Co-Chair.
Thank you very much, Botswana. I turn the floor now to Cameroon.
Thank you very much, Madam Co-Chair, for the opportunity. 10 years will be next year. And 10 years, we will need to take stock of what Kigali Amendment is able to bring, especially the dual function of taking care of the ozone and as well as climate issues. My delegation supports the proposal by Rwanda, the CRP by Rwanda, especially on the three options raised. Talking about the workshop, one-day workshop, the temporary reference that requesting the Secretariat to prepare, as well as the Regional Testing Center. We align and look forward to work in the contact group to build my own support. Thank you very much, Co-Chair.
Thank you very much, Cameroon. I turn the floor now to Tuvalu.
Since it's the first time we're taking the floor, please allow us to extend our gratitude to the Kingdom of Thailand for the warm hospitality, the Ozone Secretariat for the organization of the meeting, and likewise congratulations to the co-chairs on their appointments and hard work in steering us through discussions. We thank the distinguished delegation of Rwanda and UK for their leadership in bringing forward this important CRP on strengthening national and regional initiative to support the implementation of the Kigali Amendment. As a small island developing state in the Pacific, Tuvalu is acutely aware of the existential threat posed by climate change. The Kigali Amendment represents a critical pillar of our collective efforts to address global warming, given the high global warming potential of HFCs. Its full and effective implementation is not only an environmental imperative, but a matter of survival for a country like ours. Tuvalu welcomes CRP1, which highlights the importance of cooperative regional approaches, capacity building, and financial support to enable parties, particularly those with limited resources, to meet their obligations under the Protocol and the Kigali Amendment. We strongly believe that tailored support for national action, combined with regional coordination and knowledge sharing, can accelerate progress in phasing down HFCs and achieving energy efficiency co-benefits. Tuvalu is pleased to support this CRP, and we look forward to discuss it in a further contact group. Together, through mutual support and strengthened implementation mechanisms, we can uphold the spirit of the Kigali Amendment and the legacy of the Montreal Protocol as one of the most successful multilateral environmental agreements. Thank you, Madam Co-Chair.
Thank you very much, Tuvalu, for your observations. I now turn the floor to Grenada.
Thank you very much, Madam Co-Chair, and thank you for the opportunity to contribute to this very rich discussion that has already started. I want to first of all thank the distinguished delegates from Rwanda and the United Kingdom for presenting this very important CRP, and in addition to that, for providing the background information surrounding the whole concept of this CRP. I want to also express our deepest support for the CRP, as we see a lot of value in it, not only for Rwanda, but for several countries, based on how these regional centers would be operated. In addition to that, I think this CRP would offer a lot of support and guidance and strengthen the ongoing discussions that are currently happening at the executive committee level, where some of these initiatives are already being discussed and initiated. And so, with the special challenges that we have in the implementation of the Kigali Amendment and the implementation plans, this idea of regional cooperation and initiatives would definitely offer some support and strengthen what is happening at the national level. And again, we register our full support for this CRP. In this regard, we would also like to support the establishment of a contact group where we can further ventilate on this CRP and strengthen it and present it in a manner that can benefit all the countries that have already expressed their support for it and those that are yet to do so. And so we look forward to this engagement, and I again want to thank the proponents, the United Kingdom and Rwanda, for presenting this very important CRP that can bring a lot of benefits to a lot of us in this room. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Grenada. I turn the floor to Lesotho. You have the floor.
Okay, thanks again, Madam Chair. Lesotho finds the Center of Excellence as the background for the implementation of Montreal Protocol and the Kigali Amendment. Therefore, we feel that we support the establishment of the contact group to further discuss this CRP and maybe further to have some decision on the CRP, because we agree that if the Center of Excellence for Rwanda becomes strong and sustainable, there is higher likelihood that it is going to support our region, Africa. And it also set a good model that can assist Africa to full take part or be able to implement the Montreal Protocol. By so saying, thank you, Madam.
Thank you very much. Next on my list is Nigeria. You have the floor.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Co-Chair. The Nigerian delegation, we also like to add our voice to, first of all, thank the proponents of the CRP on national and regional initiatives to support implementation of the Kigali Amendment to the Montreal Protocol. This CRP is actually timely, and considering especially with the Article 5 parties, lacking capacities in terms of monitoring of gases that we know under the Kigali Amendment, they are harmful to the climate. So we would like to join our voice, add our voice to support this CRP and to support the establishment of regional centers of excellence to promote sustainable cooling, cold chain, capacity building to implement the Kigali Amendment. We all know that Africa, the issue of cold chain technology is important, considering the fact that most of the refrigerants we use currently, they are ozone depleting, that's HCFCs. Now we are transiting to HFC. So cold chains are very important to us, especially in the preservation of food and vaccines. So we want to use this medium to add our voice to support this CRP, and we thank also those that have added their voice to support it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Nigeria. I turn the floor now to Bahrain. You have the floor.
شكرا سيدة الرئيسة المشاركة، والشكر موصول إلى مقدمي هذه
Well, with regard to this document prepared by Rwanda and the United Kingdom, I believe that the fact that we might make the activities of the Centers of Excellence evolve and encourage them to do so has been covered in previous discussions. What I think we need to do today is to get further into the definition of a center of excellence, and more specifically the role of these centers in permanent refrigeration and the support that is required by these regions in order that they may serve the countries and the parties in their efforts to respect the Kigali commitments and the cooperation of these centers of excellence with other centers of excellence. So we have too many questions, too many question marks, when we need still a lot in order to be able to absorb this idea of center of excellence and their regional and international performance prospects. Therefore, we support the creation of a contact group with the purpose of giving serious thought to this document. Thank you, Madam Co-President.
Thank you very much, Bahrain. I give the floor now to Egypt. You have the floor.
Thank you very much, Madam Co-Chair. This delegate would like to thank Rwanda for putting to us this CRP, and of course we would like to extend our thanks to the distinguished delegate of the UK for announcing the support and willing to provide technical or financial support to this idea, and for her proposal that the multilateral fund would open a funding window for supporting also this establishing the Center of Excellence. But I would like also to highlight some Indeed, there is a need for Center of Excellence, not only at regional level, but also at a national level. Why? Because each country has its own challenges and need to solve its own challenges with a large number of people or technician or industry and engineers and all sort of people. That is a challenge for Center of Excellence in a region to be able to accommodate a large number of people from each neighboring country, but this doesn't mean that we don't need or we don't support the regional Center of Excellence. We do, but as I said, that we need also Center of Excellence at a national level, and at a national level, some Center of Excellence national can serve as a regional one if they have the capacity to do so. We would like to support the idea of having one day or half day, whatever, workshop to discuss more detail about establishing this as my colleague from Bahrain, he mentioned I want to be short, not to talk about or to repeat what he said, but I totally agree with him. And also this delegate support establishing a contact group, because this issue need to be tackled in a deep or more details, because it's really important, and this initiative came in the right time. We need it as soon as possible, and thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Egypt. I'm just going to run through the list again. This is not an encouragement to add to the list. Canada, Trinidad and Tobago, Switzerland, EU, Armenia, United States of America, Namibia, Myanmar, China, Vanuatu, Togo, and Mozambique. Canada, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Co-Chair, and our thanks to Rwanda and the United Kingdom for their proposal on national and regional initiatives to support the Kigali Amendment, in particular regarding regional training centers. We also want to take the opportunity to congratulate them for the inspiring work that they have been doing in Rwanda regarding the Kigali Center of Excellence, or the ACES. I would just like to share a few initial thoughts on the proposal. Generally, we welcome this proposal, and we note that it elicited a considerable amount of attention, and we're disposed to work with it. We do have a few comments and concerns, though, that we just want to flag quickly at this stage by going through a few of the paragraphs. First of all, on paragraph 1A, we wonder whether we need a full day, one-day workshop just on this issue. You know, it seems to be a very specific matter It's one of the many elements that the EXCOM, is considering for financing. We don't usually have one-day workshops on specific components or elements that the EXCOM may be considering for financing. And also we have to remember that, those workshops take quite a significant chunk from the Montreal Protocol budget. At the last meeting, there was a very difficult discussions regarding the budget, and there was not enough money to undertake really all the activities that Article 5 and non-Article 5 countries wanted to fund from the budget. So we want to be careful before taking away a certain amount of funds from the Montreal Protocol Trust Fund. We wonder if perhaps this could maybe take the form of another kind of event, perhaps, an extended side events at the margins of the meeting, something that, we could discuss within a contact group on this CRP. We also wonder whether this event should take place at the OEWG rather than the MOP, given that the OEWG tends to be a little bit less crazy in terms of, time and efforts for delegates. And having the workshop at the OEWG then would allow members to consider its outcome for possible discussion then at the meeting of the parties. So that's one thought. Then on paragraph 1B, we think it's a good idea to prepare a background information paper on this issue. And we would be interested, that this paper, provides a lay of the land with respect to regional centers and also having more information on successful experiences such as the ACES. On paragraph 2, I guess we would point out that the EXCOM will already be considering at its next meeting providing whether to provide funding for regional centers of excellence. So that is on the agenda, and the Multilateral Fund Secretariat will be presenting a paper on this issue. Also, just the part that says providing a window of funding for non-manufacturing activities to support implementation of the Kigali Amendment, something that we would have questions on. I mean, I think we are supporting implementation of the Kigali Amendment through non-manufacturing activities, not only through a window of funding, but through the core funding that we're providing through the Multilateral Fund. And, we wouldn't want to sort of reduce, that funding for non-investment activities to a simple window. And then finally, with respect to paragraph 3, we would generally be supportive to invite parties and stakeholders to submit information on this issue. So I'll stop here, Madam Co-Chair, just to give you an idea of where we would be coming from, and we're disposed to discuss these comments and the views of other parties in the contact group. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Canada. I turn the floor now to Trinidad and Tobago. You have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Co-Chair. Trinidad and Tobago welcomes the CRP submitted by Rwanda and the United Kingdom. We recognize the critical role regional centers of excellence play in building capacity, fostering innovation, and supporting the integration of energy efficiency testing, particularly for Caribbean small island developing states and low-volume consuming countries. The proposed workshop and background paper will be a timely opportunity to share lessons learned, best practices, and commemorate the 10th anniversary of the Kigali Amendment. We also support the request for the MLF to consider a funding window for non-manufacturing activities. This will directly benefit A5 parties in advancing Kigali implementation, sustainable cooling transitions, and broader climate and development goals. We would also like to echo the support of the establishment of a contact group for further discussions on this initiative. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Trinidad and Tobago. I turn the floor now to Switzerland. You have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Co-Chair. We also would like to thank Rwanda for proposing the CRP. We recognize the challenges related to the implementation of the Kigali Amendment and the transition to alternative refrigerants. This is in particular true for countries that on their path forward in sustainable cooling intend to leapfrog to natural refrigerants, which helps to avoid the need for double conversion and saves both time and cost. We see regional coordination and regional centers of excellence as an efficient and targeted way to overcome those challenges and to enhance the capacity building required for handling alternative refrigerants. We therefore support further discussions to enhance our understanding of how we could catalyze the implementation of the Kigali Amendment by regional cooperation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Switzerland. I turn the floor now to the EU.
Thank you very much, Madam Co-Chair. And the EU, the European Union, and its 27 member states would like to thank Rwanda and the UK as co-sponsors for their CRP and for the introduction just given now to the subject. The European Union is willing to engage in discussions, but we also have a number of questions, including on the timing of the CRP. We sincerely acknowledge that regional coordination can enhance cooperation and give valuable possibilities for knowledge sharing. Our main aim would be to better understand what is suggested and learn about the role of regional centers of excellence. For instance, which activities do regional centers do, what kind of work, which countries beyond UK and Rwanda have experiences with regional centers of excellence, and what are those experiences? Generally, how do these centers function? And are there any other potential consequences or implications of the CRP? Thank you.
Thank you very much, United States. I turn the floor now to Armenia.
Thank you, Madam Co-Chair. Armenia would like to express its gratitude to the proponents of the CRP for drafting it. The 10th anniversary of the Kigali Amendment could be a very good milestone to draw up on the developments and discuss the way further. As a country hosting a regional center of excellence, Armenia is very keen to discover the possibilities of further expanding the capacities of the regional centers and to maximize their role in further ensuring sustainable cooling, although we don't have a clear idea right now how this or in which particular manner this and in which particular activities this can be possible. We would like to express our overall support for the CRP, but we have certain reservations on certain wording, and but I will not go into details right now. We are very ready to be engaged in further discussions if a contact group is established. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Armenia. United States, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Co-Chair, and thank you to our colleagues from Rwanda and the UK for presenting this decision. We have some initial reflections here. We will, of course, want to think this through a bit more between now and the meeting of the parties. But just to say, we think there's some pretty interesting elements in here that we're interested in further exploring. So maybe I'll start there and then also flag some questions that we have. So I think maybe just starting with paragraph 3, we think there's some merit here to invite submissions that relate to contributing to sustainable cooling and cold chains. I'll come back to the very final clause in that paragraph, but certainly from our perspective, you know, as we often do, beginning with sort of an information gathering exercise when we look at issues. That sort of leads me into what I see in 1B, requesting the Ozone Secretariat to prepare a background information paper. I think from our perspective, we could be supportive of a paper, but I think to us the more interesting framing might actually be to look at the information provided in paragraph 3. And I see what in 1B is rather a more narrow formulation, focusing more on the regional centers of excellence. And I guess our framing of this issue is, I think, broader. We're looking at cooling and cold chains. You know, regional centers is one potential tool to address those issues, but I think we'd want to be careful to keep the framing on this to start with in a broader context. Just continuing on, I think on 1A, our reflections would probably be similar to those mentioned by Canada. I think realistically we're working in a remarkably resource-constrained environment. So funding something this out of the Secretariat budget is something we'd be a bit skeptical about. We've had a number of workshops in recent years, and our own reflection is, listen, they've been, I would say, modestly useful, but if resources are constrained, we would have some questions about whether this is really going to produce the kind of results that merit substantial expenditures when resources are constrained. Perhaps, as Canada noted, there's something short of a workshop, maybe there's another event that could be taken up, or frankly, I'm not sure, but if the proponents are interested, if there's other ways to fund a workshop, we sometimes have events that are not sponsored or funded by the Ozone Secretariat, so there may need to be some creative thinking with respect to that. And then just moving on to paragraph 2, I think for our part, we note the comments on this also made by Canada, including the discussions that have already taken place and will continue to take place in the executive committee. These regional centers have been a topic of conversation now for multiple meetings, but I would similarly emphasize that we do provide, we have a model for providing funding for non-manufacturing activities, and it includes numerous components, among them servicing institutional strengthening as well as the compliance assistance program. And in fact, the compliance assistance program has a regional coordination mechanism that is a major part of what that does. So I think on this, we would really want to do some, so we're hearing a number of countries express interest in this. I think we're going to need to understand better why some of the existing mechanisms that we have do not cover this. For example, servicing financial support is actually quite fungible in terms of what it can be used for. So I think the discussion here, the text refers to a funding window. I think it's prejudicial to a discussion to talk about what the priorities are for funding in the substantial resources that are already allocated by the multilateral fund towards similar activities. So I think there has to be a discussion. What's the priority? Should we be reallocating resources? Could countries prioritize within their own KIPs and other plans that they would use servicing money to support such centers of excellence if, in fact, countries view those as a priority? And we're hearing, at least for some, that perhaps it is. And then finally, just a note, there's a couple of references about the testing centers for energy efficiency, I think that they're at the ends of para 2 and 3. I guess we'll have some questions to those. Those to us seem a little bit separate from the purpose of most of the rest of this CRP. So a bit skeptical about bringing that into this, but perhaps we just need to understand it a little better. We'd be happy to have further discussions about that in a contact group. And as I noted at the beginning, I think there are several issues in here that are actually quite interesting. I think our framing of how we would move forward might be a little bit different, but I do think this usefully raises some issues of broad relevance and importance to the parties. So we appreciate Rwanda and the UK bringing this forward and look forward to a discussion in the contact group or however you decide, co-chair, on how to proceed. Thank you.
Thank you very much, United States, for those views. I now turn the floor to Namibia. I'm so sorry.
Thank you very much, Madam Co-Chair. Since it is the first time for Namibia to take this stance, we would like to congratulate you in your new position. And Namibia fully supports Rwanda and United Kingdom proposed CRP 1, which includes the back-to-back workshop, as this will provide a timely platform for countries to share practical experiences and lessons learned in implementing the Kigali Amendment. And we also support the 10th anniversary of the Kigali Amendment to establish Center of Excellence to celebrate a decade of the Kigali Amendment, which is not symbolic, but also a chance to reflect on progress and chart a stronger path ahead. We also support the funding window for non-manufacturing activities. Although most Article 5 countries are importers of HFCs and do not have manufacturing sectors, they still carry a burden in enforcement, awareness, and technical training. On a final note, Namibia commends Rwanda for this forward-thinking proposal. It aligns well with the spirit of Montreal Protocol and the Kigali Amendment by fostering collaboration, capacity building, and inclusive support for all implementation types, not just manufacturing. We urge the Executive Committee to endorse CRP1 and consider its timely and strategic importance to the global HFC face-down efforts. And Namibia looks forward to this engagement and also welcome the form of contact group to discuss this issue further. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much, Namibia. I turn the floor now to Myanmar.
Thank you so much, Madam Co-Chair. I would like to inform again that Myanmar is preparing to ratify on the Kigali Amendment. Although we have not achieved funding and technical support for implementation of Kigali Amendment to the Montreal Protocol yet, we are working on amendment of our ozone order, managing licensing system based on our quota, and organizing awareness raising activities on our own. We are worried about the human resource and their capacity in refrigeration and non-refrigeration sectors. And it would be very helpful to us if we can have support. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Myanmar. The final countries on my list are China, Togo, Mozambique, and Kenya. China, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Co-Chair. First of all, we thank Rwanda for submitting the CRP. We support the setting up of the regional center part in the CRP. Setting up regional centers are very important to the capacities of the implementation, and we are ready to be part of the discussion. Thank you.
Thank you very much, China, for your brief intervention. I turn now to Togo. You have the floor.
Merci, Madame la.
Thank you, Co-Chair. Since this is the first time that my country is taking the floor, we would like to say a big thanks to the State of Thailand for the warm welcome which has been granted to us during our stay here in Bangkok. We'd also like to thank the Ozone Secretariat for organising this meeting. Our congratulations extend also to the two co-chairs on their election. To be brief, we would like to say that our delegation supports the CRP proposed by Rwanda, because in our opinion, we believe that this CRP would be a favourable asset in order to face up to the challenges we face related to the effective and efficient implementation of the Kigali Amendment in our countries. Based on that, we're in favour of the creation of a contact group in order to go further in discussions of the CRP. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Togo. I turn now to Mozambique.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Similar to other countries, we'd like to thank you, the delegation of Rwanda and UK, for this CRP. As we said on Monday, Mozambique will face the big projects such as TPMP, now is Kigali Amendment. And we have a lot of challenges to face in this amendment. But when we see in terms of budget to be funded to the activities is not responding the demand in the country. And sometimes we need to pass by Council of Ministers to explain what will be replaced, what will be banned in which year, and how it will be done. And we have some questions that leave us so tight to give us feedback, the Parliament and the Council of Ministers. So, as we said on Monday, for good, successful activities in the end of the project, we need to have a good plan, business plan. So we think we'll be able to be part of this CRP because we need to contribute in some items in terms of activities and how should it be funded. Thank you very much for the floor.
Thank you very much, Mozambique. The final country on my list is Kenya, and then I'll propose a way forward. Kenya, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Co-Chair. Kenya thanks Rwanda for presentation of the CRP and also UK as the co-sponsor. Kenya developed its National Cooling Action Plan designed to enhance access to sustainable cooling for all Kenyans that is in line with the Kigali Amendment requirements. The CRP being proposed by Rwanda is geared towards establishing centers of excellence for promoting sustainable cooling and cold chains. Kenya also has the Specialized Outreach and Knowledge Establishments, SPOCs, which are demonstration and training centers as mentioned by the distinguished delegate of the UK. Considering the importance of sustainable cooling and the presence of SPOCs in Kenya and the value that the regional centers could bring, Kenya generally supports the proposal in the CRP and would wish to participate in a contact group if one is established to discuss the CRP in greater detail. Thank you, Madam Co-Chair.
Thank you very much, Kenya, and thank you very much to all the delegations that took the floor. There was a lot of support we did hear for the CRP. We also heard some reservations from some delegations, as well as a number of questions that will need to be answered. So in light of that, we do propose to establish a contact group to consider the CRP. And we're very pleased to note that Mariska Walters from New Zealand and Camilla Knoll from Vanuatu have kindly agreed to be your conveners for this contact group. And we will set out a time and a location for that contact group to meet. Just one moment before we decide on the next steps. I'll turn to my co-chair. We have a couple of CRPs we'd like to try and introduce now, so I turn over to Chantal.
Thank you, Annie. I would like to invite parties to consider agenda item 4D on halons and other fire suppressing agents. As you know, in our previous discussions, we were awaiting the preparation of a CRP. An advanced unedited version of the CRP is available on the portal. It's CRP number 6, and I would like to invite the proponents of that CRP to present it to the parties. So the lead proponent, can you please, Australia, you have the floor.
Thank you, Co-Chair. I'm pleased to introduce CRP 6 on Halon 1301, its continuing use in the aviation industry and management of other controlled substances for use in fire suppression on behalf of Australia and our co-sponsors, Canada, the EU, Norway, New Zealand, Switzerland, the UK and the US. I'll just, noting the time, briefly run through the outline of the CRP. The preambular paragraphs set the context, noting the information in the 2025 progress report by the TEEP and its update on the potential long-term use of Halon 1301 in the aviation sector. We also note that some controlled substances continue to have a meaningful role in fire suppression, including halons and HCFC 123. We note also, with concern, the long-term supply of Halon 1301 is uncertain given the difficulties in shipment of Halon 1301 and its deliberate destruction. We note also that the International Civil Aviation Organization may be considering changes to the mandatory 2024 date by which Montreal Protocol scheduled substances should no longer be used in new aircraft designs. We also note the work that has been carried out on alternatives to Halon 1301 in cargo compartments, and that at least one alternative candidate might soon be available. We also recall existing decisions in relation to the management of halons. Turning now to the operative paragraphs, we propose that the Ozone Secretariat liaise with the Secretariat of the International Civil Aviation Organization on the matter of site fire suppressions controlled under the Montreal Protocol, and to facilitate an exchange of information between the TEEP and the FSTOC and the relevant ICAO technical committees to allow the TEEP to better assess the needs of halons in civil aviation, making use of the data available basically as requested by the FSTOC in the TEEP update report. And we invite then the TEEP to submit a report on halon availability and global distribution based on those assessments to the 48th meeting of the OEWG. The second operative paragraph encourages parties to liaise through their ozone officers with their national civil aviation authorities to understand better how halons and alternatives are being used and supplied. And then we encourage, in operative paragraph 3, all parties to consider their national import and export restrictions other than their licensing requirements to ensure that the import-export of recycled reclaimed halons and other controlled substances for fire suppression are, I guess, facilitated with the aim of enabling all parties to meet their remaining needs and also taking into account Basel Convention requirements. And lastly, in the draft decision, we request parties to submit to the Ozone Secretariat information required regarding development of alternatives for use of controlled substances in fire suppression, and to request that the Secretariat forward that information to the TEEP for its consideration. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Australia. Yesterday on this issue, we had agreed that we would establish a contact group to discuss the issue. Are there any objections to the establishment of the contact group? Good. So the proposal from the chair is that the contact group be established to further discuss this CRP that has been proposed. And the co-conveners identified for this group are Yana from the Czech Republic and Juan Jose from Argentina. The time of the meeting of the contact group will be announced at a later date as soon as possible. Thank you. I now direct parties to agenda item 5 on feedstocks and invite the proponents to present on CRP number 5, European Union and Switzerland. You have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Co-Chair. Yes, the European Union has prepared a CRP on the feedstock uses of controlled substances, and Switzerland has joined as a co-sponsor to this CRP. It's a relatively compact CRP. We have a number of preambles recalling that feedstocks are exempted from the definition of productions, but we're also recalling that parties were urged relatively early on in the decision 412 to take steps to minimize emissions of such substances. We also note that in the 2022 assessment reports of the TIEP and the SAP, and in the following progress reports, there were significant increases in the production of controlled substances used as feedstock highlighted, and that high emission factors were identified. We also take note of the information compiled by the Ozone Secretariat responding to last year's decision on the submission of parties on practices and technologies and on established national procedures and frameworks. On the operative part of the CRP, there are a number of calls to parties to provide more data to help us make progress on this issue. There is one task for TIEP to analyze and report, and another call to parties to monitor. In a little bit more detail, these paragraphs are an invitation to parties to provide available data on emissions, on feedstock processes, the production of feedstocks and the use of feedstocks. There is a request to provide information on steps taken in response to decision 36.5, that's a decision from last year, where parties were requested to continue to take and minimize emissions of controlled substances during production, transportation, distribution, storage, handling, repackaging, and use. And there is a third invitation to parties to submit information including emissions data on the production of halon 1301 as a foodstock and its use to manufacture fipronil. The task for the TEEP is to analyze the information submitted by parties both in response to last year's decision and to these invitations and requests that I just outlined from the new CRP. Provide an update of all relevant information on emissions of controlled substances produced or used as feedstocks, and to keep updating us in the future in annual progress reports on the issue. And the last operative paragraph is an invitation to parties to support activities and research in monitoring of emissions of feedstock substances and the identification of relevant sources, which is a direct picking up of the discussions we had with the TIEP yesterday on what might be missing on this issue to help them make progress in telling us what the emissions are from this. Thank you, Madam Co-Chair.
Thank you, EU. As we recall from the discussions yesterday, there was much interest in further discussing this issue, and so the proposal from the chair is for the establishment of a contact group for further discussions. That is the proposal from the chair. Are there any objections from parties to this? Seeing no objections, we will move forward with the establishment of a contact group to further discuss the issue of feedstocks. And the proposed co-conveners are Morgan from the United Kingdom and Liana from Armenia. And as is customary, the time of the contact group will be posted as soon as possible. Thank you. Hand over to Annie.
Thank you very much, Chantel. We're just trying to organise a schedule of contact groups and informal groups for this afternoon and tomorrow morning. We don't see a need for plenary to meet again this afternoon, so we will dedicate the afternoon to contact groups and as well tomorrow. We will try and post a schedule for this afternoon's contact groups very soon, but we do ask parties to look at the scheduling for contact groups for tomorrow morning, and then we will have a report back plenary at some point tomorrow, which we haven't decided on a time yet because we've moved very quickly today and we haven't quite caught up with the processes that we need to have. So just give us one moment while we finalise the schedule for this afternoon. Thank you. Australia, you have the floor.
Chair, I would apologise for doing things slightly out of order, but I would also just like, in relation to conference paper 6, just to draw everybody's attention to an annex to that paper which has just been published, which was not aware had just been published, which provides some information for the background of parties in relation to the issue of Halon 1301 as fire suppression clean agent in cargo compartments, should they wish to refer to the discussions that took place at this meeting when talking with their aviation authorities about the upcoming ICAO decision. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Australia, for drawing that to the attention of the room. So we will be posting the contact group list for this afternoon very shortly. So, but we will allow time for lunch. Oh, apparently it's up, right? So that is the proposal for this afternoon, and we urge delegations to consult the app and the boards in relation to contact group meetings and plenary sessions for tomorrow. Good afternoon, and thank you very much for all your good work during the course of the morning. It's been very productive. Thank you.
This is the story of a hidden environmental threat that nearly went